Hello everyone, my name is Rob Moore and I'm the Regional Managing Director for SGK for Europe, and I'd like to welcome you to the European segment of our Around the World with SGK virtual event. SGK has a very significant presence in Europe, with almost 2,000 employees based here, working with over 1,000 customers across a variety of industries. Over the past decade and a half, we've expanded our business beyond packaging to provide end-to-end services for marketing content, also helping customers to define, create, produce, and transform this part of their business as well. Across our portfolio, we're working directly with retailers, brand owners, other types of direct-to-consumer and B2B companies in all kinds of different market sectors, including food, beverages, pharmaceuticals, general merchandise, financial services, and many, many others. We're deeply committed to environmental sustainability, both reducing our own carbon footprint as a company and providing services that enable our clients to reduce theirs through innovative, creative design, production, and technology solutions. We've put together an exciting program, and we'll be bringing you insights about trends from our thought leaders and subject matter experts across Europe, along with some recent work that we've completed for some of our clients. I'd like to thank the teams that have worked behind the scenes to bring today's program to life. Today's sessions will include Sustainable Packaging Made Easy, a 6-step approach, Design Choices and Trends in Sustainable Packaging Design, Amplifying Consumer Empathy to Transform Digital Marketing, Amplifying Influence through Storytelling, and Embracing Sustainability. Thanks for coming along with SGK today on this journey through Europe and the rest of the world. I hope you will find it an informative and an enlightening journey.
Hi Anne-Sophie, thank you for having me. I'm super excited to be here with you to speak about this topic of sustainability that has become a real stake for our clients right now.
I think you will agree that sustainability and the pressure faced by companies to tackle this burning issue is anything but new. But COVID-19 has fast-forwarded the need for companies to integrate responsibility into their business models. The pandemic has, like never before, sounded the alarm in most industries that sweeping change is needed on their consequential environmental impacts. And while the entire world is still grappling with the pandemic, it has become clear that shifting from business as usual to a new normal is the only way forward. Interestingly, the role of companies is approaching more and more that of states, with 58% of consumers, of people, believing that the crisis can only be resolved if brands play an active role in solving current problems. Indeed, in this time of immense turmoil, brands are certainly facing a number of challenges impacting all their dimensions, corporate, commercial, and employer brand levels as well. Build and more likely, most of the time, maintain consumer trust is definitely at stakes. Brands have lately entered a new era where trust rules. They are increasingly expected to solve for both personal and societal problems, and trust within that context has become the make or break. And interestingly, data showed that consumers are more likely to trust a brand that integrates sustainability. Also, sustainability is now a key purchase driver for most consumers across categories. 61% of people say that they would be less likely to buy a product if the company is performing poorly on environmental practices. It is true to all age groups and especially for Gen Z. And last but not least, embracing sustainable approaches improves employer branding and impacts positively talent recruitment, retention, and also advocacy. Knowing all those stakes, it comes as no surprise that top-growing brands are integrating CSR actions more into their recovery plans, 51% versus 34% for all brands, as this is stated by Kantar's latest Global Business Compass. This reveals that they had already understood this new consumer demand before the crisis, hence their growth, and they are therefore more ready to accelerate in this direction. So neutrality is no longer an option. Whatever the brand, it has to enter the arena, and most importantly, do it in a way that is relevant to its uncompromising audiences, but also true to its DNA. We have entered the second age of responsibility when brands are not only expected to compensate for their negative impact, this is the debt, but also, and most of all, to contribute to a better future, to the common good by creating positive value. There is a shift. Brands need to operate from being reactive to be more proactive. This can be overwhelming, and we appreciate that. So let's dig together into the 5 golden questions brand experts might want to reflect on when supporting a brand's sustainability journey.
So the first question you may ask yourself is, does it guide your overall brand strategy? Actually, just like Anne-Sophie was saying, there is a fundamental shift that brands need to operate, and they also need to do it in their organization. They need to shift from treating sustainability as a separate vertical, the so-called CSR department, to making it a higher imperative, which transcends all the divisions: commercial, marketing, business, internal, external. It should be actually like a backbone and infused everywhere. It should permeate all the company's initiatives, because sustainability is a lever for R&D, it's a criterion when you're building a brand or product portfolio, and it's also a lever of employer brand, just like Anne-Sophie was saying, because it defines values to be applied internally in a logic of symmetry of attention. One of the greatest examples of that is the work that Danone has achieved the last few years. Elevating the company's commitment to a corporate level. Actually, they defined a global strategy with a clear vision. Human health is connected with and interdependent on the health of the planet. And this is translated into their signature, One Planet, One Health. And it's also infused and deployed at many levels of the brand's decision. Just to name a few, we put some in highlights. For example, the product development with Michel et Augustin new spread recipe that is really focused on sustainability aspects, whereas it's a more premium gastronomy brand. In acquisition strategy, with the recent acquisition, for example, of the vegan brand Follow Your Heart. In innovation, with a lot of reusable packaging and new formulations. But also in their organization, for example, with the decision of becoming a B Corp label brand and infuse it to all the commercial brands. But also in the development and deployment of their new headquarters in Rueil-Malmaison that are seen as an ecosystem and that have been developed in co-creation with all the teams. And all this invites us to reframe and probably broaden our perspective of sustainability and of what brand commitment encompasses. Because it needs to be aligned with the business, with the activity and your category. And it just can't be about environmental protection only. For some brands, it may be more relevant to address the social or economical aspect of sustainability.
And the second question we might want to reflect on is, does it convey emotion? Another essential rule to remember is that being committed to sustainability doesn't mean you can do it in a way that is desirable or attractive to consumers. It is rather the contrary. A study led in France during the first lockdown last year, ranking brands according to utility, demonstrated this renewed importance of emotion. While essentials like energy suppliers or telecoms were largely absent from the ranking, the emotional attachment created by Air France, for example, the airline company, had made it possible to place it among the brands that the French people had missed the most. This simply proves that a purely functional approach to utility and societal purpose is not enough. Emotion allows to give substance, impact to brands beyond comparison with purely functional assets. So yes, the most successful brands that have a positive impact today are the ones that combine their commitment to contribute to a better future with a very attractive design or communication, presenting their offer without compromising on style or emotion. We have some good examples here, very inspiring. Back Market or Depop, for example, are online platforms for reselling second-hand goods that have brilliantly embraced the power of emotion by making second-hand purchase or pre-loved ultra-modern thanks to product editorialization, for example. Or Refashion, which is the new brand of the French textile industry eco-organization, previously called EcoTLC. The new name, brand identity, brand territory clearly get away from the traditional look and feel you would expect for this type of organization, and now speaks the same language as fashion brands, the one of desirability, and this really amplify its impact. Adopting this approach is also a way to reduce the gap between consumers' environmental convictions and their actual behaviors, to reconnect between their beliefs and actions by removing any feeling of compromise or sacrifice. The figures here are quite striking, with 92% of consumers that have a desire to lead a more sustainable lifestyle on one side, but on the other, only 16% of them actively changing behaviors. And this leads us to our third question.
Actually, our third question is, does it empower your consumer? Actually, consumers expect brands today to actively support them in the adoption of new behaviors. They expect brands to empower them in the achievement of their goals, or more concretely, to help them make their daily lives easier and better. And that's why when you're defining your societal purpose, it's essential to have a good understanding of their needs and their struggles. In that way, you can define how your brand can legitimately and actively help them. And keeping this objective in mind, your brand commitment should no longer be reduced to a mere statement of principle, but it should also bring tangible solutions to your consumer's life. An interesting example lately is how the fashion industry has moved towards that direction, with a lot of brands promoting circularity and putting forward new initiatives to facilitate access to second-hand. For example, we are thinking of La Redoute that has built its new dedicated website for individuals to resell their La Redoute products. There is also interesting examples from brands that are using nudge marketing. Actually, nudge marketing is a way of communicating messages that use the psychology of the individuals. And Nestlé, for example, has developed a project called Nutri-Plateau in Spain to prevent childhood obesity. And they use a diagram of a plate to show the specific amount of each food group that should be incorporated at lunch and dinner. And these examples show the opportunity brands have to support consumers in making more sustainable decisions in their daily lives by giving them the right tools, the right services, the right product innovations, and making the brand partners. You're more likely to be loved and preferred by consumers who will recognize tangible benefits.
And speaking about tangible benefits, the fourth question is my positive impact measured? Is it evidence-based? Is it trustworthy? Studies show that 20% of consumers trust brand sustainability claims, only 20%, but 83% of them would be more likely to trust a sustainability claim if it had been verified by a third party. This evidence-based communication involves, obviously, measuring the impact of a brand's action and be transparent about it. And it is okay to be on a journey to display progress versus some sort of perfection, to adopt a humble and sincere position. Consumer will probably value the efforts and be willing to support your brand on the way. Following this approach also helps build the credibility of a brand and its commitment in the long term. Veja, for example, a French sneakers brand, tracks its carbon footprint and makes it public. They calculate and publish everything in an exercise of full transparency and education. This also participates in shedding light on the unknown consequences of sneaker production. On a different note, Coop, the supermarket chain, uses the blockchain technology to track its products and make the information available to consumers. A QR code on the food label allows consumers to trace the origins of a product with their smartphone from field to plate.
And this example is super interesting and leads us to the fifth question, because it's about collective action. Actually, the question you may ask yourself is, does your commitment engage your ecosystem? We are at a time where brands must also think collectively as part of an ecosystem. And the commitment strategies must no longer be built on a simple brand-consumer interaction. Actually, sustainability is a global challenge, and acting and planning as a sector is stronger than a brand-alone initiative. Moreover, the crisis has brought forward the need for interconnected actions with solidarity as a goal. So therefore, they must put aside their heroic vision and gestures to adopt visions that bring people together and become part of a collective by designing open solutions, forging partnerships, providing access to data, etc. For example, we can think here of how Danone has opened up access to its stem cell database to help global research on the subject. There is also a lot of new interaction in the pharmaceutical industry right now with COVID-19 vaccines. For example, Sanofi will help Pfizer to help meet the huge demand for the US drug makers' shots. We are also thinking of the Fashion Pact, the global coalition, including suppliers and distributors in the fashion industry. And all of those actors of the category are committed to common objectives in the sustainable areas. And all are inspiring examples of brands initiating collective vision. So what if the brands of tomorrow were open brands? This is a question any brand should explore in the new normal.
What if the brands of tomorrow were open brands? What an inspiring question to finish this webinar. To sum up the 5 topics we discussed today and the key takeaways to guide your brand journey to true sustainability: make it your backbone, embrace emotional branding, empower your audience, show, don't tell, and think collective.
So we hope you enjoyed this webinar and found it interesting. Don't hesitate to reach out if you have any question or if you want to continue the conversation. Thank you.
Have a good day, everyone. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Environmental problems are one of the main issues in our society. Our group and agency aim to develop our expertise in having a more sensitive and a more eco-responsible approach to the interior design and to the design, through the design conception, through the choice of materials, to the anticipation of future uses and life cycle, for example. That's why during the last few months, we started to source materials related to eco-design with low environmental impact. We have found very inspiring and interesting bio-sourced and recycled materials, such as vegetable tanning for leather, such as fabric and leather based on pineapple leaf fibers, also wooden panel based on flower petals instead of wooden panel laminate that use very bad glue, and, for example, banana fiber coating used for packaging, furniture, lighting, and design. We want to take into account that all the materials we can provide to our clients are biodegradable, such as tiles that can be recycled indefinitely, or 100% of bio-sourced and biodegradable acoustic panels or wall covering. Many of these materials are already materials we can provide, but we want to enlarge our knowledge of all the companies that can offer smart solutions, innovating materials, new process, and new way of producing. We want to build an expertise that will support our customers throughout their project, from the definition of the specifications, the choice of materials, to the design project phase. In that context, we decided to create a space for work, discovery, and inspiration by sourcing samples rigorously classified by family of materials. 100% bio-sourced, recyclable, and recycled products. This eco-design library will enable us to introduce innovating materials, new processes or systems to all our customers who are looking for innovating technical or aesthetic solutions. You have seen that we have already sourced hundreds of products for design applications or retail environment. We have so many samples, such as 100% bio-based and biodegradable materials from living organisms of animal origin or vegetable origin, such as an alternative to leather made from seafood shell waste and coffee waste, or leather production without any chrome inside and reducing the water consumption, or recycled plastic flooring, 100% recycled and recyclable. Some other applications and examples, such as handmade floor coverings made from scrap wood, or wall panel made from sustainable pine trees, potato puree, vegetable wax, citrus peel, zero chemicals inside, or 100% wool felt acoustic wall system, etc. All these families of materials are classified in our eco-design library on site in Paris.